legally married. And the baby I'm carrying is his.
Tell me she's lying. No, I can't do this. I'm sorry.
What? Wait.
The wedding ended before the vows, but the truth hiding behind those papers would destroy far more than a marriage. And years later, one little boy would force the billionaire to make the most heartbreaking decision of his life. Just moments earlier, Adrian Whitmore believed this would be the happiest day of his life. The cathedral doors slammed open with a deafening bang. Stop this wedding. Every head turned. A pregnant woman, soaked by the pouring rain, marched down the aisle with fire burning in her eyes. Her breathing was uneven, but her determination never wavered. In one hand, she clutched a thick brown envelope. In the other, she held her swollen belly as if protecting the child inside her. The string quartet stopped playing. The guests whispered nervously. At the altar, billionaire Adrian Whitmore froze, his face draining of color. His bride, Clara Bennett, slowly turned toward him before looking back at the woman approaching them. The woman stopped just a few feet away and glared at Adrian. You really thought you could marry another woman while I'm still your wife? The entire hall fell silent. What is she talking about? One guest whispered. No, this can't be happening. The officiant stepped back. Ma'am, please, this is a private ceremony. Naomi Sinclair ignored him. She threw the brown envelope onto the polished floor. It became public the moment he decided to commit a crime. Adrian finally found his voice. Naomi, what are you doing here? What am I doing here? She laughed bitterly. I'm stopping my husband from becoming a bigamist. Clara frowned. Adrian. He reached for her hand. Clara, please. Let me explain. She quietly pulled away. Naomi bent down, picked up the envelope, and handed it directly to the officiant. Open it. The officiant hesitated before removing several official documents. His eyes widened. These. Naomi crossed her arms. Read them. The officiant swallowed hard. According to these court records, the divorce petition was filed. He flipped another page. But the divorce was never finalized. The guest gasped. Someone pulled out a phone and began recording. Another guest whispered, This is going to be all over the news. Clara looked at Adrian with disbelief. You told me you were divorced. I believed I was, Adrian replied desperately. I hired my lawyers. They handled everything. Naomi laughed again. They handled nothing because I never signed the final agreement. She placed a hand over her stomach. And before anyone says I'm lying, her voice cracked. I'm 6 months pregnant. The room exploded into murmurs. Adrian stared at her belly. No. She nodded. Yes. Clara's breathing became shaky. You? She looked from Naomi to Adrian. You're having a baby together? Adrian shook his head repeatedly. I didn't even know she was pregnant. Naomi snapped. Because after abandoning me, you never cared enough to ask. Clara closed her eyes. Every beautiful dream she had imagined just moments earlier shattered before her. The officiant slowly removed his glasses. I'm afraid I cannot continue this ceremony. Outside the cathedral, reporters had already begun gathering after someone leaked news of the interruption. Inside, panic spread like wildfire. Adrian stepped toward Clara. I swear to you, I didn't know. She stared into his eyes. Did you know your divorce wasn't finalized? He hesitated. That single second was enough. Clara's heart broke. You hesitated. You hesitated, Adrian. His voice lowered. My lawyer told me everything was almost complete. Almost, Clara whispered. You asked me to marry you while your marriage was almost over? No, Clara. Please listen. She removed her engagement ring with trembling fingers. I trusted you. Adrian felt his chest tighten. Please don't do this. Tears streamed down Clara's cheeks. I built my future around a man who couldn't even tell me the truth. Naomi smiled coldly. Now you know how betrayal feels. Adrian turned angrily. This is what you wanted, isn't it? What I wanted. Naomi shouted. I wanted honesty. I wanted answers. Instead, you disappeared and replaced me. You manipulated every conversation we had, and you abandoned your marriage. The guests watched in stunned silence. Some shook their heads. Others quietly walked away. The wedding had become a public disaster. Outside, television cameras captured every guest leaving. News alerts flooded social media. Billionaire wedding ends in bigamy scandal. CEO's secret marriage exposed. Pregnant wife stops luxury wedding. Adrian's phone vibrated endlessly. Board members, investors, lawyers. He ignored every call. Only Clara mattered. He found her standing alone near the cathedral entrance. Rain poured heavily around her. Clara. She didn't turn. I'm begging you. Still silence. I love you. Finally she spoke. If you loved me. She slowly faced him. Why didn't you make sure your past was truly over before asking me to build a future with you? I thought it was. You thought. Her voice was calm now. Painfully calm. Love deserves certainty, Adrian. He reached toward her again. She stepped back. I'm not asking for perfection. Her tears mixed with the rain. I was only asking for honesty. Before Adrian could answer, Richard Cole, his attorney, hurried toward them. Mr. Whitmore. Adrian looked furious. What? We have a serious problem. What could possibly be worse than this? Richard lowered his voice. The documents Naomi brought are authentic. Adrian stared at him. No. I'm sorry. You told me the divorce was finalized. Richard looked ashamed. The paperwork stalled when she refused to sign. You never told me. We were still negotiating. Adrian grabbed him by the collar. You destroyed my life. Richard struggled to breathe. I thought we had time. Time. Adrian shouted. My wedding just collapsed because you thought we had time? Clara quietly watched. This wasn't only the lawyer's fault. Adrian had chosen assumptions over certainty. That choice had destroyed everything. She turned around. Clara. She kept walking. Please. She never looked back. As she disappeared into the rain, Adrian felt something inside him break. For the next several days, Adrian searched everywhere. He visited Clara's apartment. Empty. He called her phone. Disconnected. He contacted her friends. None of them knew where she was. Or perhaps they simply refused to tell him. Meanwhile, every television station replayed footage of the interrupted wedding. Late one evening, Adrian sat alone in his enormous mansion. The silence was unbearable. His housekeeper entered carefully. Sir. What? Miss Naomi is here. Adrian closed his eyes. I don't want to see her. I'm afraid she insists. Without waiting for permission, Naomi walked into the living room. She looked around. Still living in luxury. Adrian didn't even stand. What do you want? She rested a hand on her belly. What belongs to my child? Adrian looked at her. You've already ruined my life. No. She answered quietly. The lies ruined your life. He laughed bitterly. You seem proud of what's happened. I'm proud that the truth finally came out. He stood. The truth. His voice echoed across the room. The truth is you waited until my wedding day. You could have spoken months ago. Naomi's expression hardened. Would you have listened? Adrian remained silent. She nodded sadly. Exactly. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. Then Adrian asked the question that had haunted him since the wedding. Is the baby really mine? Naomi looked directly into his eyes. Yes. Her answer came without hesitation. Adrian slowly sat back down. If she was telling the truth, then his life had just become far more complicated than he had ever imagined. If you're enjoying this emotional journey so far, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments. If you were Clara, would you have walked away too? Or would you have given Adrian a second chance? Adrian had no idea that an even more devastating truth was waiting just around the corner. Adrian barely slept that night. Naomi's words echoed in his mind. Yes, the baby is yours. He stared at the city lights outside his bedroom window until sunrise, wondering how everything had unraveled so quickly. 3 days earlier, he had been preparing to marry the woman he loved. Now he was a man the entire country believed was a liar. The next morning, his phone rang again. It was the chairman of his company's board. Adrian, where are you? At home. You need to come in immediately. I don't think that's a good idea. You don't have a choice. Investors are demanding answers. An hour later, Adrian walked into the company's headquarters. The lobby, once filled with smiles and greetings, had become painfully quiet. Employees lowered their heads. Some whispered. Others avoided eye contact completely. Inside the boardroom, tension filled the air. The chairman folded his hands. Tell us the truth. I believed I was divorced. Believed? One director slammed his hand on the table. You don't build billion-dollar companies on belief. You build them on facts. Another director added. Our stock has dropped 12% since yesterday. Sponsors are pulling out. Every news station is calling us. Adrian rubbed his forehead. I'm handling it. No. The chairman replied firmly. You're surviving it. Another silence followed. Finally, Adrian stood. I'll fix this. The chairman looked at him with disappointment. You should have fixed it before it reached the altar. After the meeting, Adrian drove straight to Clara's apartment one more time. Nothing. The landlord stepped outside. Mr. Whitmore? Adrian turned quickly. You know where she went. The elderly man sighed. She packed everything the morning after the wedding. Did she leave an address? No. A phone number? No. A message? The landlord hesitated before reaching into his pocket. She asked me to give you this if you ever came back. It was a small white envelope. Adrian's hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was only one handwritten sentence. Please don't look for me. The woman you loved deserved honesty, not apologies. He read it again. And again. His vision blurred. No. He whispered. No. For the first time in years. Adrian cried. Weeks passed. The media frenzy slowly shifted to newer scandals, but Adrian's private life continued to crumble. Because the divorce was still legally unresolved, Naomi's lawyer successfully argued that she should temporarily return to Adrian's mansion until the court reached a final decision. Adrian objected immediately. This is ridiculous. Justice Eleanor Hayes adjusted her glasses. Mr. Whitmore, regardless of your personal feelings, Mrs. Sinclair remains your legal spouse. Naomi lowered her eyes, pretending to be heartbroken. I don't want conflict, Your Honor. Adrian almost laughed. She had destroyed his wedding, yet now she played the victim. The judge continued. The court expects both parties to cooperate until this matter is concluded. Outside the courtroom, reporters surrounded them. Mr. Whitmore, did you lie to your fiancé? Is the unborn child yours? Will the wedding ever happen? Adrian ignored every question. Naomi smiled politely for the cameras before stepping into the waiting car. Living under the same roof became unbearable. Naomi behaved as if nothing had happened. One evening, she entered the dining room, carrying a folder. We need to discuss the baby's nursery. Adrian never looked up from his plate. I'm not discussing anything. You'll have to eventually. I'm only here because a judge ordered it. She sat across from him. You know? Her voice softened. We weren't always like this. He slowly raised his eyes. No. We were worse. Naomi forced a smile. There was a time you loved me. There was a time I believed you loved me too. She looked away. You worked all the time. I worked to build a future for us. You built an empire. She leaned forward. But somewhere along the way, I stopped being your wife. Adrian answered quietly. And you stopped acting like one. Silence. Then Naomi stood. I suppose we'll never agree. As she reached the doorway, Adrian spoke. If this baby truly is mine. She turned. I'll never abandon my child. For a brief second, something unreadable crossed Naomi's face. Then she simply nodded. I know. Months later, Naomi went into labor. Adrian received the call while attending an investor meeting. The contractions have started. Without another word, he left the meeting and rushed to the hospital. Hours later, a nurse walked into the waiting room. Congratulations. It's a boy. Adrian entered the room slowly. Naomi looked exhausted. Beside her rested a tiny sleeping baby. She smiled weakly. Meet your son. Adrian stared at the infant. The baby's tiny fingers wrapped around one of his. His heart softened instantly. He's beautiful. What should we name him? Naomi asked. Adrian thought for a moment. Ethan. Naomi smiled. I like it. For the first time in months. Neither of them argued. Adrian threw himself into fatherhood. He learned how to hold Ethan, how to change diapers, how to calm him during sleepless nights. His business remained successful, but every evening he rushed home just to hear Ethan laugh. His housekeeper smiled one afternoon. I've never seen you this happy, sir. Adrian looked toward the nursery. I've made many mistakes. He smiled faintly. But maybe I can still be a good father. Nearly 3 months later, Ethan developed a persistent fever. Doctors admitted him for observation. A pediatric specialist entered Adrian's room. We're going to run several routine tests. Whatever he needs. There may also be a genetic screening. Adrian frowned. Is something wrong? Probably not. The doctor reassured him. We simply want to rule everything out. Naomi looked nervous. Far more nervous than Adrian expected. That night, she barely slept. The following morning, Adrian noticed her pacing outside the hospital room. Naomi. She jumped. You startled me. Why are you so anxious? I'm worried about Ethan. So am I. She forced a smile. Everything will be fine. But her hands wouldn't stop shaking. 3 days later, the pediatric specialist requested a private meeting. Inside the consultation room sat another physician and a hospital genetic counselor. Adrian immediately sensed something was wrong. The doctor folded his hands. Mr. Whitmore, what is it? We've completed Ethan's genetic screening. Adrian looked confused. And the doctor hesitated. The results revealed an inconsistency. What kind of inconsistency? The genetic counselor gently slid a folder across the desk. We repeated the test twice to eliminate any laboratory error. Adrian's pulse quickened. Please stop speaking in riddles. The doctor took a deep breath. The DNA analysis indicates that you cannot be Ethan's biological father. The room fell completely silent. Adrian blinked. I'm sorry, what? The probability of paternity is effectively 0. He laughed. No. I'm afraid. No. He pushed the folder away. Run it again. We already have. Run it somewhere else. We sent independent samples to another laboratory. Adrian stood abruptly. You're wrong. The doctor remained calm. I understand this is difficult. No. His voice echoed through the consultation room. You're telling me the child I've loved for months isn't mine? No one answered. Adrian stumbled backward, struggling to breathe. Only one thought consumed him. Naomi had lied. And if she had lied about Ethan, what else had she lied about? His hands clenched into fists as he stormed out of the room, his eyes burning with anger. He had only one destination, Naomi's hospital room. And this time, he wasn't going there for answers. He was going there for the truth. Adrian threw the hospital room door open with enough force to startle everyone inside. Naomi looked up from Ethan's crib, immediately reading the fury on his face. Adrian. He held up the DNA report. What is this? She swallowed. I can explain. He laughed bitterly. No. You've done enough explaining. The nurse sensed the tension. I'll come back later. As soon as she left, Adrian threw the report onto the bed. The test says I'm not Ethan's father. Naomi stared at the papers without touching them. Look at me. She slowly raised her head. Tell me the truth. Silence. Tell me. Adrian roared. Tears filled Naomi's eyes. I was scared. His expression hardened. So it's true. She broke down. Yes. Adrian stood frozen. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Finally, Naomi whispered, I never wanted things to go this far. You interrupted my wedding. I know. You destroyed my reputation. I know. You made me believe Ethan was my son. She sobbed harder. I know. Adrian's voice trembled with heartbreak rather than anger. Who is his father? Naomi closed her eyes. A man I met during the last months of our marriage. You had an affair? She nodded. It only happened a few times. A few times? His laugh was filled with pain. You gambled with people's lives for a few times? I found out I was pregnant after you left. So you decided the child should become my responsibility. I was desperate. You were selfish. She reached for his hand. Please. He stepped back immediately. Don't touch me. She covered her face. I thought if I could stop your wedding, maybe we could start over. Adrian looked at her in disbelief. Start over? You were already building a future with another woman while lying to everyone. I wasn't lying about loving Clara, but you still loved me once. I buried that love the day trust died. Naomi cried uncontrollably. I've lost everything. Adrian answered quietly. No, you threw everything away. Within days, the truth exploded across every major news outlet. The DNA results became public during the court proceedings. Justice Eleanor Hayes reviewed every piece of evidence carefully. She looked directly at Naomi. You knowingly presented false claims before this court. Naomi lowered her head. Yes, Your Honor. You falsely identified Mr. Whitmore as the biological father. Yes. You used an unborn child to influence legal and financial outcomes. Naomi whispered, yes. The judge sighed. The court finds in favor of Mr. Whitmore. The temporary marital claims were dissolved. Naomi lost every financial demand connected to Ethan's paternity. Outside the courthouse, reporters chased Adrian. Mr. Whitmore, how do you feel after being proven innocent? He stopped walking. Innocent. The reporters became quiet. I wasn't innocent. They exchanged confused looks. I made mistakes. He continued calmly. I assumed instead of confirming. I ignored problems instead of solving them. And because of my choices, He looked toward the sky. I lost the woman I truly loved. Without another word, he walked away. 6 years passed. Whitmore Global became even larger. Adrian appeared on magazine covers. He received business awards. His wealth doubled, but none of it filled the silence waiting for him every evening. His mansion remained beautiful and painfully empty. One Saturday morning, his driver asked, "Sir, would you like to go directly home?" Adrian looked out the window. "No. Where to?" "Just drive." The luxury sedan wandered through Riverton until Adrian noticed Willow Gardens Park. Children laughed. Families gathered beneath tall trees. "Stop here." He stepped out alone. As he walked through the park, a bright laugh caught his attention. A little boy chased a red kite across the grass. He couldn't have been older than 5 or 6. His dark hair danced in the wind. His smile? Something about it felt familiar. The boy tripped. Before Adrian could react, another man hurried over and gently helped him stand. "You all right, buddy?" The boy laughed. "I almost caught it, Dad." "Dad." The word lingered in Adrian's mind. Then he saw her. Clara. She was sitting on a nearby bench, smiling as she watched them. Time seemed to stop. She looked older, wiser, peaceful. She noticed Adrian standing there. Their eyes met. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Finally, Clara walked toward him. "Hello, Adrian." His voice barely worked. "Clara, you look well." "I've been better." She nodded gently. "I know." He looked toward the little boy. "He's my son." Adrian couldn't stop staring. The resemblance became clearer with every passing second. The shape of his eyes, his smile, even the way he tilted his head. Clara noticed. "You see it too," Adrian whispered. "He's mine, isn't he?" Clara took a slow breath. "Yes." The world around Adrian disappeared. "I wanted to tell you," she continued softly. "But after the wedding, there was nothing left to say." He struggled to breathe. "You were pregnant. Almost 3 months. You never told me. I wanted my child to grow up away from lies, courtrooms, cameras, and scandals." He closed his eyes. "I'm so sorry." "I know." A gentle voice interrupted them. "Clara." The man from earlier walked over with the little boy. He smiled politely. "Everything okay?" Clara nodded. "Yes." She looked at Adrian. "This is my husband, Elias Brooks." The two men shook hands. "It's nice to finally meet you," Elias said sincerely. Adrian frowned. "You know who I am?" Elias smiled. "I've known for years." There was no hatred in his voice, only maturity. The little boy looked curiously at Adrian. "Mom." Clara knelt beside him. "Noah." She smiled. "Go play for a few more minutes." "Okay." He ran back toward the playground. Adrian watched him disappear. Elias spoke first. "He's a wonderful kid." "I'm sure he is. He loves drawing. And soccer. And pancakes every Saturday." Adrian smiled through tears. "I've missed everything." Elias answered honestly. "Yes." No anger. No cruelty. Just truth. After another long silence, Adrian asked, "Does he know?" Clara shook her head. "No." "And when he's older?" "We'll tell him." Adrian nodded. "I understand." A week later, Adrian sat inside his lawyer's office. Richard Cole looked surprised. "You have a strong custody case." "I know. We can file immediately." Adrian looked out the window. "What would that accomplish?" "You'd have legal rights." "And Noah?" Richard hesitated. "It would be complicated." Adrian smiled sadly. "No. It would be cruel." Richard slowly closed the file. "So, what do you want to do?" Adrian signed another document. "I've established a trust fund for Noah." Richard looked down. "This is enough to pay for his education, his future home, and anything else he could ever need. I don't want him to know it came from me until Clara believes the time is right." Richard nodded. "And custody?" Adrian pushed the unsigned papers aside. "I'm not taking a father away from a little boy." Several months later, Adrian returned to Willow Gardens Park. From a distance, he watched Noah laughing as Elias taught him how to ride a bicycle without training wheels. "You've got this," Elias called. "I'm trying." "Don't look down. Keep your eyes forward." Noah wobbled, then finally rode several feet on his own. "I did it." He threw his arms into the air before safely stopping. "I did it, Dad." Elias hugged him proudly. "You sure did, champ." Adrian smiled. A single tear rolled down his face. For years he believed fatherhood was written in blood. Now he understood. Fatherhood was written in every bedtime story, every scraped knee, every promise kept, every moment someone chose to stay. He quietly turned away before anyone noticed him. As he walked toward his car, his phone buzzed. A new message from Clara. Thank you for choosing Noah's happiness over your own. One day he'll know the truth. And when that day comes, I hope he sees the man you've become, not just the man you used to be. Adrian smiled for the first time in years. He looked back one last time. Noah was laughing. Clara was smiling. Elias had an arm around both of them. It was the family Adrian had once dreamed of. It just wasn't his to keep. Sometimes, the greatest act of love isn't fighting to hold on. Sometimes, it's having the strength to let go. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more emotional billionaire stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Did Adrian make the right decision by walking away? Or should he have fought for the chance to be part of Noah's life? We'd love to hear your opinion. Until the next story, remember, trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and sometimes a lifetime to understand.